Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the big screen in front of him. 3 alien fleets were coming toward them through space. The ships looked scary with their glowing lights and strange shapes. Jake knew these aliens, thought humans were weak and stupid. That was exactly what he wanted them to think. "Captain, the Zephyrian ships are getting closer," said Dr. Lisa Chun from her seat at the control panel. She was pressing buttons and making the ship's lights flash. But she was not really fixing anything. She was making their ship look broken and old on purpose. Jake smiled a little bit. The aliens could not see his face from their ship, so it was safe to smile. "Good work, Lisa. Make sure our engines look like they might stop working any second." The truth was that Jake's ship, called the Meridian, was the most advanced machine in this part of space. It could destroy all 3 alien fleets in just a few minutes. But the aliens did not know this. They thought humans were still learning how to fly between planets. "Commander." Nick Rodriguez walked up to Jake. He was holding a small device that only made sounds Jake could hear. "Sir, we just got a message from Admiral Kate Sullivan back on Earth. She says we must keep pretending to be weak, no matter what happens." Jake nodded. This was the most important rule for all humans in space. Never let the aliens know how smart and strong humans really were. Earth had been playing this game for 50 years now. On the screen, the 3 alien groups started shooting at each other. Bright beams of energy flew between their ships. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. The Zephyrians had blue ships that looked like fish. The Krallites had black ships with lots of sharp points. The Vortani had round silver ships that spun as they moved. "They are fighting again," said Lisa. "Just like always. Let them fight," Jake said. "While they are busy hurting each other, they will not look at us too closely." The aliens had been at war for many years. Each group thought they were the best and strongest in the galaxy. They spent all their time trying to prove this to each other. None of them paid much attention to the humans who lived on the small blue planet called Earth. This was perfect for humanity's secret plan. Dr. Lisa Chung looked at her computer screen. It showed her what the alien weapons could really do. Their best guns would barely scratch the paint on the Meridian's real hull. The ship looked like it was made of old metal, but that was just for show. Under the fake covering was material that the aliens did not even know could exist. "The Zephyrians are using their plasma cannons," Lisa said. "The Krallites are firing back with their energy beams." Jake watched the battle and felt a little sad. So many aliens were dying in these wars. Their ships exploded and brave soldiers were lost forever. But if humans tried to stop the fighting, the aliens would ask questions. They would want to know how humans got so powerful so fast. That could not happen. Nick Rodriguez was listening to more secret messages from Earth. "Captain, our spy ships are sending back lots of good information. The aliens still think we can barely fly to our own moon." This made Jake happy. While the aliens fought each other, human ships were quietly exploring the whole galaxy. They had found hundreds of new worlds. Some of these worlds now had secret human cities on them. But the aliens did not know about any of this. Earth's leaders were very smart. They knew that if the aliens learned the truth, everything would change. The 3 groups might stop fighting each other and work together against humans instead. Or they might try to steal human technology. Either way, it would be bad for Earth. "Sir, the Vortani are retreating," said Lisa. "Their ships are badly damaged." Jake watched the silver ships fly away as fast as they could. Some of them were on fire. Others were spinning out of control. It was hard to watch, but he could not help them. Not yet. The Zephyrians and Krallites kept fighting for 2 more hours. Finally, both groups decided they had done enough damage. For one day, the blue fish ships and the black-pointed ships slowly moved away from each other. "Are they leaving?" asked Nick. "Yes," said Jake. "The show is over. Time for us to go home, too." Lisa made the ship's engines sound rough and noisy. She made the lights dim like the power was almost gone. Any aliens watching would think the human ship was barely able to fly, but as soon as they were far enough away, Lisa pressed a different button. The Meridian's real engines came online. The ship moved faster than light itself. crossing distances that would take the aliens many days to travel. In just a few minutes, they were back near Earth. Jake looked at the beautiful blue planet through the window. Down there, millions of humans were living normal lives. Most of them did not even know about the big secret. They did not know that their species was the most advanced in the known universe. Earth looked peaceful and quiet. The aliens thought it was just a small world with people who had barely learned to build rocket ships. If only they knew that human technology was hundreds of years ahead of anything they had. Another successful mission, said Nick. Yes, said Jake. But I wonder how much longer we can keep this up. Lisa turned in her chair. Why? Do you think the aliens are getting suspicious? Jake shook his head. No, they still think we are primitive. But keeping secrets is hard work. And every day the lies get bigger. The captain was right to be worried. All across human space, thousands of people were working to maintain the Great Deception. Actors pretending to be simple traders. Scientists acting like they were amazed by basic alien technology. Diplomats who had to seem grateful when aliens offered to share their advanced knowledge. It was the biggest lie in galactic history. And so far, it was working perfectly. Dr. Amy Parker sat across from Ambassador Zethan in the meeting room. The blue-skinned alien was tall and thin, with 4 arms and big yellow eyes. He was smiling, but Amy could tell he thought he was much better than her. Your people are still very young in space, Zethan said in his smooth voice. Perhaps we Zephyrians can help you learn. We have been flying between stars for thousands of your Earth years. Amy nodded and tried to look impressed. That would be wonderful, Ambassador. We humans are eager to learn from such an advanced species. Inside, Amy wanted to laugh. The device on her wrist looked like a simple translator, but it was actually scanning everything about Zethan. It was recording how his body worked, what his clothes were made of, and even how his brain was thinking. All this information was being sent back to Earth's secret research stations. The meeting was happening on Haven Point, a space station that was supposed to be neutral ground. Ships from all 4 species could dock there safely. But Amy knew that. Even Haven Point had human technology hidden inside its walls. We might consider sharing some of our basic inventions with your people, Zethan continued. Of course, we would need something in return. Perhaps mining rights on your outer planets? That seems very fair, Amy said, even though she knew those basic inventions were things humans had built decades ago. What kind of technology would you be willing to share? Zethan touched a device on his belt. A small hologram appeared above the table. It showed the inside of a computer processor. This is one of our quantum processing units, very advanced. Your people probably cannot even understand how it works. Amy stared at the hologram and made her eyes wide like she was amazed. But she was not amazed at all. She was disappointed. The Zephyrian advanced processor was actually more primitive than the computers human children used in school. Incredible, she said anyway. How does it work? While Zethan explained his people's amazing technology, Amy's scanner was copying every detail. By the time the meeting was over, human scientists would know everything there was to know about. Zephyrian computers, far away, Captain Sam Davis was having his own problems. His ship, the Wanderer, was flying through Krallite space. The insect-like aliens were always suspicious of outsiders, so Sam had to be very careful. 3 Krallite ships surrounded him. They looked like giant metal bugs with glowing green eyes. Sam could hear their clicking and buzzing voices over the radio. Human vessel, one of them said. State your business in our territory. I am just a trader, Sam replied, making his voice sound nervous. I was hoping to buy some of your excellent technology. Maybe some engine parts or computer systems? The Krallites made sounds that might have been laughter. To them, Sam looked like a primitive human in a crude metal ship. They had no idea that his cargo hold was full of reconnaissance drones so small they were invisible to alien scanners. Your ship is very old, said the Krallite captain. How did you even make it this far? Very carefully, Sam said, and with lots of luck. The Krallites let him dock at one of their trading stations. As Sam walked through the corridors, the insect aliens stared at him with their compound eyes. Some of them clicked to each other. In their own language, Sam's translator told him they were talking about how funny it was to see such a backward species trying to explore space, while Sam pretended to be interested in their advanced weapons and engines. His tiny drones were spreading throughout the station. They recorded everything: military plans, ship designs, and secret communications. The Krallites would never know that their most important secrets were already on their way back to Earth. Back on Earth, Director Paul Martinez was reading reports from dozens of operations like these. Human agents were spread across alien space, all of them playing the role of primitive explorers who were amazed by basic technology. Paul sat in his office. Deep underground, above him, the people of Earth went about their normal lives. They did not know about the secret war their species was fighting. A war of deception and lies. "Sir," said his assistant, Lieutenant Beth Morgan, "we have a problem." Beth was young and smart, and Paul could see she was frustrated. Like many young officers, she was tired of pretending to be weak when humans could easily defeat all three alien species. "What kind of problem?" Paul asked. "Some of our people are starting to ask questions. They want to know why we have to keep lying. Why we cannot just tell the aliens the truth and end their stupid wars." Paul sighed. This was always going to happen. Eventually, it was hard to ask brave people to act cowardly. It was hard to ask smart people to act stupid. Because the moment we reveal ourselves, everything changes, Paul explained. Right now, the aliens ignore us. They think we are not worth their attention. That gives us freedom to explore and learn. But people are dying out there, Beth said. We could save them, and then what? The aliens would want to know how we got so powerful so fast. They would study us, try to steal our technology, maybe even attack us first before we could attack them. Beth was not satisfied with this answer, but she nodded anyway. Paul could see she was still thinking about it. That night, Paul received a message that made everything more complicated. Engineer Ryan Cooper had been studying alien communication networks, and he had found something disturbing. "Director, Ryan," said over the secure video link, "I have been looking at the aliens' old records. There are references to something they call the ancient enemy." "What kind of enemy?" Paul asked. "I am not sure yet, but all three species seem to be afraid of it. They talk about it in whispers, like they do not want to say the name out loud." Ryan showed Paul some of the intercepted communications. The words were translated, but the fear in them was clear. The aliens talked about something that had driven them from their homeworlds long ago. Something that was still out there in the dark spaces between stars. "Keep studying this," Paul told Ryan. "But be careful. If the aliens realize we can read their most secret messages, our whole operation could be exposed." After the call ended, Paul sat alone in his office. He looked at the map on his wall that showed all of human space. It looked small compared to the territories controlled by the three alien empires. But Paul knew the truth. Human space was actually much larger. They had colonies and bases that the aliens did not know about. The Great Deception was working. Humanity was growing stronger every day while the aliens fought each other over scraps. But Paul was starting to wonder if they were missing something important. What was this ancient enemy that scared the aliens so much? And why did Paul have a feeling that humanity's peaceful days of hiding were about to come to an end? Outside his window, Earth turned slowly in space. It looked so quiet and safe. But Paul knew that looks could be deceiving. After all, humans had become experts at making things look different than they really were. The question was, how much longer could they keep up the act? Dr. Helen Burke stood in the archaeology lab of the Constellation, humanity's most advanced research ship. In front of her was a piece of crystal that had once been part of a planet. The world had been destroyed so completely that its surface had turned to glass. Helen held the crystal up to the light. Inside it, she could see the frozen remains of buildings and roads. An entire civilization had been trapped in crystal when their planet died. She had never seen anything so terrible. "How many worlds like this have we found now?" asked her assistant. "Dr. Mark Johnson, 17, Helen said quietly. All of them in the outer rim of the galaxy. All of them destroyed the same way. The constellation was flying near the edge of known space, far from where the three alien empires fought their wars. Out here, the stars were older and dimmer, and many of the planets were dead. Commander Tony Adams walked into the lab. He was the ship's captain, and Helen could see he was worried about something. "Dr. Burke, have you finished translating those inscriptions we found?" Helen nodded and led him to another table. On it were pieces of metal covered with strange writing. The metal was so old it should have crumbled to dust long ago, but it was made from materials that lasted forever. "This is what I have learned." "So far," Helen said, "the three alien races we know are not from around here. They came from somewhere else, far away." "Refugees?" Tony asked. "Yes, but not by choice. They were running away from something." Helen pointed to symbols on the metal. "They call it the Devourers. According to this, the Devourers consume entire star systems. They turn planets, stars, even space itself into fuel for their machines." Tony stared at the ancient writing. "How long ago did this happen?" "About 3,000 years ago. The Devourers swept through the galaxy's center, destroying everything in their path. The ancestors of the Zephyrians, Kralites, and Vortani barely escaped with their lives." Helen picked up another piece of metal. This one had a star map carved into it. She showed Tony how the Devourers had moved from system to system, leaving nothing behind but empty space. "They work slowly but never stop," Helen explained. "They take about 50 years to completely consume a solar system. Then they move on to the next one." Tony felt cold inside. "Are they still out there?" "Yes, and according to these calculations, they are still moving outward from the galactic center. They will reach our part of space in about 50 years. The two humans stood in silence, thinking about what this meant. Helen had spent her whole career studying dead civilizations, but she had never found evidence of something this terrible. "We need to tell Earth about this immediately," Tony said. On Earth, General Lisa Foster was having the worst day of her career. She sat in the secret meeting room deep under the ground, surrounded by the most important people in human government. Everyone looked scared. "So you are telling me," said President Robert Clark, "that there is an ancient enemy coming to destroy everything, and the aliens have been running away from it for thousands of years?" "That appears to be correct, sir," Lisa said. "Dr. Burke's findings match what our spy networks have been hearing. The aliens have legends about something they call the Great Darkness, something that ate their homeworlds." Director Paul Martinez was also in the room. He had brought files full of intercepted alien communications. "Our agents have been picking up more references to this ancient enemy. The aliens are terrified of it, but they do not like to talk about it directly." "And you think this enemy is coming here?" the president asked. "The evidence suggests they never stopped moving," Lisa said. "They have been consuming star systems for 3,000 years. Our part of the galaxy is next in line." The president rubbed his face with his hands. "How much time do we have?" "About 50 years, maybe less." President Clark stood up and walked to the big map on the wall. It showed the galaxy with all the known civilizations marked in different colors. Earth was just a tiny dot compared to the vast spaces around it. "What do we know about these Devourers?" "How do they fight?" Lisa opened another file. "Not much. The ancient records describe weapons that can crack planets in half an engines, that can move faster than anything we have ever seen. But the records are thousands of years old. We do not know what the Devourers are like now." "Could they have gotten stronger?" asked Paul. "Almost certainly. They have had 3,000 years to consume entire civilizations. Every species they destroy makes them more powerful." The room fell quiet again. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Humanity might be the most advanced species in local space, but they were still just one world against an enemy that had destroyed thousands. Lieutenant Colonel David Hayes was leading a mission to the outer monitoring stations when the first proof arrived. His ships were checking the deep space sensors that watched for threats from beyond known space. What they found made his blood run cold. "Sir, you need to see this," said his sensor operator, Sergeant Lisa Brown. David looked at the readings on the screen. Far away, at the very edge of what their instruments could detect, something was moving. The energy signatures matched the ancient weapon patterns Dr. Burke had found in the ruins. "How far away is it?" David asked. "About 2,000 light years. But sir, look at this." Lisa pointed to another part of the screen. "The readings show it is not just one thing. It is thousands of objects moving together." David felt sick. Fleet? More like a swarm? And sir, they are all heading this way?" The news reached Earth within hours. In the secret command center, General Lisa Foster stared at the same readings David Hayes had seen. The dots on the screen looked small and harmless, but she knew they represented the most dangerous threat humanity had ever faced. "How long until they get here?" she asked the technician. "At their current speed, about 47 years, Lisa closed her eyes. 3 years less than they had hoped. 3 years less to prepare for the end of everything. "General," said Colonel Frank Miller, one of her advisors, "what do we do now?" Lisa looked around the room at all the worried faces. These were the smartest and bravest people on Earth, and they were all looking to her for answers. But she did not have any good answers to give. "We keep the secret for now," she said finally. "But we start preparing. We need to know everything there is to know about the Devourers. And we need to decide if we are going to face them alone or with allies." "You mean the aliens?" Frank asked. "Yes, the Zephyrians, Kralites, and Vortani. They have been running from this enemy for 3,000 years. They might know things that could help us. But if we ask them for help, we will have to reveal our true capabilities," Lisa nodded. "That is the problem. Do we keep hiding and try to face the Devourers alone? Or do we reveal ourselves and try to unite all the species against the common threat?" It was an impossible choice. If humanity revealed their advanced technology, the aliens might become enemies instead of allies. But if they stayed hidden, they might not be strong enough to stop the Devourers by themselves. And if the Devourers won, it would not matter who had the best technology. Everyone would be dead. The great deception that had protected humanity for 50 years was about to become their greatest challenge. They were the most advanced species in known space, but that also meant the responsibility for stopping an ancient evil might fall to them alone. Time was running out, and the hardest decisions were still ahead. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching 2 alien fleets tear each other apart over a worthless moon. The Zephyrian and Kralite ships were firing everything they had at each other. Explosions lit up space like deadly fireworks. Maria felt sick watching it. Her ship, the Defiant, was humanity's first truly advanced warship. It did not look like the old human ships that the aliens were used to seeing. This one was sleek and powerful, with weapons that could destroy entire fleets in minutes, but the Defiant was invisible. Human technology had made it impossible for alien sensors to detect. Maria could sit here and watch the battle, knowing that her single ship could end the war instantly. But her orders were clear: do not interfere. "Captain," said her weapons officer, Lieutenant Carl White, "the Kralites are targeting civilian ships now. They are attacking refugee transports." Maria watched in horror as Kralite fighters swooped down on defenseless ships full of Zephyrian families. The transport ships had no weapons, only engines barely fast enough to escape the fighting. Some of them did not make it. "How many people were on those ships?" Maria asked quietly. "The scanners show about 3,000 per transport, ma'am." "Mostly women and children." Maria closed her hands into fists. With one command, she could save those people. The Defiant's weapons could destroy every Kralite fighter in seconds. But if she did that, the aliens would know that humans had technology far beyond what they had shown. "Orders are orders," said Commander Pete Johnson, her second-in-command. But even he sounded like he did not believe it anymore. Back on Earth, Admiral Rick Turner was having the same struggle every day. He sat in his office looking at reports from across the galaxy. Every day, Millions of aliens died in pointless wars while humanity had the power to stop all the fighting. Rick was now Earth's supreme commander, the person who made the final decisions about humanity's secret war. The job was killing him slowly. He had not slept well in years. His assistant, Colonel Janet Lewis, brought him the daily casualty reports. "Sir, the fighting is getting worse. The Vortani attacked 3 Zephyrian colonies yesterday. The death toll is over 1 million. Rick put his head in his hands. "What about our research into the Devourers?" "Dr. Lewis thinks she has figured out how their technology works. The Devourers do not just destroy civilizations. They turn the intelligence and creativity of conquered species into computer power for their collective mind." This made Rick feel even worse. "So every species they consume makes them smarter and stronger?" "Yes, sir. And according to her calculations, they have consumed over 10,000 different civilizations in the past 3,000 years. Rick stood up and walked to his window. Outside, he could see normal people living their normal lives. They were shopping, working, playing with their children. None of them knew that their world was the most advanced in the galaxy, or that a terrible enemy was coming to destroy everything. "Colonel," Rick said, "what do you think we should do?" Janet was surprised by the question. The Supreme Commander rarely asked for opinions. "Sir, I think we should tell the aliens the truth. Unite all the species against the Devourer threat. And if they turn against us instead? Then at least we tried to do the right thing," Rick nodded slowly. More of his officers were saying the same thing. The young ones especially were tired of hiding while innocents died. The breaking point came 3 days later. Commander Steve Mitchell was patrolling near the Vortani border in his cloaked ship when he saw something that changed everything. The Vortani had started attacking civilian colonies, burning entire cities to hurt their enemies' morale. Steve watched through his ship's cameras as Vortani bombers dropped fire on a Zephyrian farming world. The planet had no military value at all. It was just families trying to grow food for their children. "Sir," said his pilot, Lieutenant Ann Davis, "we could stop this. Our weapons could destroy those bombers before they hurt anyone else." Steve wanted to give that order more than anything, but his training held him back. "We cannot reveal ourselves. You know the rules." "The rules are wrong," Ann said, and Steve was shocked to hear her say it out loud. Below them, the Vortani bombers finished their work and flew away. The farming towns were burning ruins. Steve's sensors showed that over 50,000 civilians had died in less than an hour. That night, Steve sent a message directly to Admiral Turner. It was against regulations, but he did not care anymore. "Sir, I cannot do this job anymore. Watching innocent people die while I have the power to save them is making me crazy. Either give me permission to help or find someone else to command this ship." Steve was not the only one sending such messages. All across human space, officers were beginning to refuse orders. Captain Rachel Kim, one of the youngest ship commanders in the Secret Fleet, openly argued with the Shadow Council during a secure video conference. "You are asking us to be cowards," she said to the group of older leaders on the screen. "We have the most powerful military in the galaxy, and we are using it to hide while genocide happens around us." General Lisa Foster tried to explain the reasoning again. "Captain, if we reveal ourselves, we risk everything. The aliens might unite against us instead of accepting our help." "So what?" Rachel shot back. "At least we would be honest. At least we would be trying to save lives instead of protecting our comfortable secrets." The argument went on for hours, but Rachel would not back down. She represented a new generation of human officers who thought the masquerade had gone on too long. "The moral cost is too high," Rachel said finally. "Every day we stay hidden, more people die. How many deaths are we responsible for?" After the conference ended, Lisa Foster sat alone in her office. Rachel's words kept echoing in her mind. How many deaths were they responsible for? How many people could they have saved? Lisa had helped create the policy of hiding humanity's strength. At the time, it seemed like the smart thing to do. Let the aliens fight each other while humans grew stronger in secret. But she had not counted on how it would feel to watch the suffering. and do nothing. The next morning brought news that made everything worse. The Devourers had accelerated their approach. New deep space readings showed they would arrive in 35 years instead of 40-7. Dr. Janet Lewis, who had been studying the ancient enemy for months, had also made a terrible discovery. The Devourers were not just moving randomly through space. They were targeting the most advanced civilizations first. "They know we are here," she told Admiral Turner during an emergency briefing. "Somehow, they can detect technological advancement from thousands of light years away. The more advanced a species becomes, the more attractive they are to the Devourers." Rick felt the weight of leadership crushing down on him. "Are you saying that our technology makes us a target?" "I'm saying we were always going to be a target. The question is whether we face them alone or with allies." That afternoon, Rick called together the Shadow Council for the most important meeting in human history. Representatives from every part of Earth's secret government gathered in the underground chamber. "The situation has changed," Rick began. "The Devourers are coming faster than we thought. Our officers are refusing orders because they cannot stand to watch the alien wars continue. And our own advancement may have made us the primary target." He looked around the room at the faces of people who had spent decades protecting humanity's secret. "I think it is time to end the masquerade." The room erupted in arguments. Some people agreed that it was time to reveal the truth. Others insisted that hiding was still the safest option. The debate went on for hours. Finally, President Robert Clark stood up. As the elected leader of Earth, his word was final. "Admiral Turner, prepare a plan for revealing our true capabilities to the alien species. It is time for humanity to take its place as leaders of the galactic community." "And if they reject our leadership?" asked General Foster. "Then we will face the Devourers alone," the president said. "But at least we will face them with a clear conscience." The decision was made. After 50 years of hiding, humanity was about to step out of the shadows. The most advanced species in the universe could no longer pretend to be primitive. The masquerade was ending. The real war was about to begin. Director Alan Foster stood in front of the largest gathering of alien leaders in galactic history. The neutral station Crossroads had been expanded just for this meeting. Representatives from all three alien species sat in the Great Assembly Hall, wondering why the humans had called this emergency conference. Alan was old now, his hair white and his face lined with wrinkles. He had spent most of his life keeping humanity's greatest secret. Today, he was going to reveal it to the universe. "Honored delegates," Alan began, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. "I have called you here to discuss a threat that faces all of our species. But before I can explain this threat, I must tell you some truths about humanity that we have kept hidden for 50 years. The alien delegates shifted in their seats. Ambassador Zethan of the Zephyrians leaned forward. With interest. General Krax of the Kralites clicked his mandibles nervously. Minister Vara of the Vortani whispered something to her aide. "For half a century," Alan continued, "humanity has allowed you to believe that we are a primitive species, barely capable of spaceflight. This was a lie." At that moment, Captain Emma Clark gave the order that changed everything. Around the station, 50 human ships decloaked at the same time. Their sleek hulls and impossible designs appeared on every alien sensor screen simultaneously. The reaction in the assembly hall was immediate. Alien delegates jumped to their feet, shouting in their own languages. Some reached for weapons that were not there. Others tried to contact their fleets. The hall filled with panicked voices. Alan waited for the noise to die down before speaking again. "These ships represent just a small fraction of humanity's true fleet. We have been watching you, learning from you, and protecting our secrets while you fought your wars." Ambassador Zathan's blue skin had turned pale. "This is impossible. Your species only achieved faster than light travel 30 years ago?" "We achieved it 120 years ago," Alan said calmly. "Everything else has been an act." Admiral Roy Baker stepped forward to join Alan on the platform. Roy was the commander of humanity's revealed fleet, and he looked every bit the part of a military leader from an advanced civilization. Delegates, Roy said, I am Admiral Baker of the Human Space Forces. What you see around this station is nothing compared to what we truly possess. Our technology is centuries ahead of anything your species have developed. General Cracks of the Krallites rose from his seat, his insect-like body trembling with rage. You have been spying on us. Deceiving us. This is an act of war. No, Alan said firmly. This is an act of desperation. Because there is something coming that threatens all of us, and we can only face it together. The holographic display in the center of the hall came to life, showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations where the Devourers had been detected, slowly moving outward from the galactic core. 3,000 years ago, Alan explained, your ancestors fled from an enemy that consumed entire civilizations. That enemy never stopped. They have been moving through the galaxy, destroying everything in their path, and they will be here in 35 years. Minister Vera of the Vortani stood up, her silver robes shimmering. The ancient enemy, the stories our grandmothers told us. Not stories, Alan said, reality. The Devourers are real and they are coming. Our deep space sensors have confirmed it. The hall fell silent as the aliens stared at the holographic display. The red dots showed the steady advance of destruction across thousands of star systems. It was clear that their region of space was next in line. Ambassador Zethan found his voice first. If this is true, why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue hiding? Admiral Baker answered this time, because we cannot defeat them alone. And because watching your people die in pointless wars while we had the power to help was destroying our souls. The truth of this statement hit the alien delegates hard. They began to understand that every battle, every loss, every tragedy of the past 50 years had been witnessed by humans who could have intervened. You could have stopped our wars, General Crack said quietly. You could have saved millions of lives. Yes, Alan admitted. And that is a burden we will carry forever. But we can still save billions of lives if we work together against the real enemy. Dr. Lisa Chun stepped forward. She was now the director of humanity's Xenotechnology program, and she carried with her the key to everything that would follow. We are prepared to share our technology with all of your species, Lisa announced. Quantum shielding, antimatter weapons, faster-than-light communication, medical advances that could extend your lifespans by centuries, all of it. The aliens stared at her in shock. Technology that advanced would transform their civilizations overnight. It would end scarcity, stop disease, and give them power beyond their wildest dreams. What do you want in return? Asked Minister Vara. Unity, Admiral Baker said simply. An end to your wars. A combined fleet under human command to face the Devourers. A chance for all of our species to survive. The debate that followed lasted for 3 days. The alien delegates argued among themselves, contacted their home governments, and struggled to accept the new reality. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had been turned upside down. Some aliens were angry about the deception. Others were grateful that humans had finally revealed themselves. Most were simply terrified of the approaching Devourers. On the third day, Ambassador Zethan stood to address the assembly. The Zephyrian Empire accepts humanity's offer. We will join the United Fleet. General Krax clicked his mandibles thoughtfully before speaking. The Krallite hives also accept? Our ancestors ran from this enemy once. We will not run again. Minister Vara nodded slowly. The Vortani Collective agrees as well. Let us face the darkness together. The formal treaty was signed that evening. The three-way war that had raged for decades ended not with conquest but with revelation. Faced with an enemy that threatened all life in the galaxy, the former enemies chose to unite under human leadership. Captain Jake Morrison, now an elderly man, watched the ceremony from the observation deck. He had been one of the first to maintain the masquerade, pretending his advanced ship was primitive while aliens fought around him. Now he was watching that masquerade finally end. Strange to think it's over, said Commander Nick Rodriguez, who was also there to witness history. The masquerade is over, Jake agreed. But the real work is just beginning. Over the following months, human technology flowed to the alien worlds. Shipyards that had built crude metal vessels were retooled to construct ships with quantum hulls and antimatter engines. Weapons that had seemed advanced became museum pieces overnight. The transformation was incredible to watch. Alien scientists who had struggled with basic physics suddenly had access to knowledge that let them manipulate space and time. Soldiers who had fought with primitive energy weapons now carried devices that could crack moons in half. But the most important change was not technological, it was social. The three alien species stopped seeing each other as enemies and started seeing each other as allies. They had a common purpose now: survival. The combined fleet took shape slowly but surely. Human shipyards worked alongside alien construction crews to build vessels designed specifically to fight the Devourers. Every species contributed what they could, guided by human knowledge and unified by human leadership. Dr. Lisa Shun worked 18-hour days teaching alien scientists how to use their new technology. The learning curve was steep, but the aliens were motivated by the knowledge that their very existence depended on mastering these new tools. Admiral Roy Baker commanded the largest military force in galactic history. Ships from 4 different species trained together, learning to fight as one unit. The cultural differences were huge, but the threat they faced was even bigger. As the months passed, deep space monitors tracked the Devourers' steady approach. The ancient enemy was still decades away, but their energy signatures were growing stronger. Soon, the combined fleet would get its first glimpse of what they were truly facing. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Unity, watching as the mixed fleet practiced their formations. Human vessels flew alongside Zephyrian, Krallite, and Vortani ships. The sight would have been impossible just a year ago. "Do you think we can win?" asked his new first officer, a young Zephyrian named Kathis. Jake considered the question carefully. The Devourers had destroyed thousands of civilizations. They had consumed entire sectors of the galaxy. They were more powerful than anything the combined species had ever faced, but humanity was no longer hiding. The most advanced species in the universe was finally using their full capabilities, and they were not fighting alone. "I think we have a chance," Jake said finally. "For the first time in 3,000 years, the Devourers are going to face unified resistance. That has to count for something." Outside the ship's windows, the combined fleet continued its training. 4 species that had been enemies were now learning to trust each other with their lives. It was the greatest transformation in galactic history. The masquerade was over. The real war was about to begin. And for the first time since the Devourers had started their terrible march across the galaxy, they were going to face an enemy that refused to run. Humanity had stepped out of the shadows at last. Now they would discover if being the most advanced